Hi, this is Miss Andrea, and I'm back to talk a little bit more about what's going on in Michigan with the state of education. You'll see in my last video on Michigan that a federal judge ruled that students in Detroit had no constitutional right to literacy, in spite of the fact that they were being actively damaged from receiving a poor education. And that was the ruling. And so I made a video because that was disturbing. And I recommended strongly to parents that homeschooling should be the course of action. And people started talking back. What it comes down to is that it's hard for parents whose own education has been questionable through the same system to be able to impart knowledge to their children. What that means for me is that there's apparently a snowballing effect of poor education going on, and now these kids are damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they stay in school, well, clearly the state sees no right or obligation to give the kids a quality education. If they learn at home, then the parents are kind of behind the eight ball because a lot are themselves functionally illiterate. And that's scary to me, but not scary enough to prevent homeschooling, believe it or not. There's no reason, and it's never too late for a parent to improve their literacy level. Okay, my dad went to school through 8th grade. All of his sons didn't go to college, but all of his daughters at least have bachelor's degrees. And we learned just as much from him as we learned from any school. It's just never too late to improve your literacy. And I feel like if you can hear my video and see my video, then you have everything you need to homeschool your kids. Honestly, we're at a point now where everything you need to know, you can learn on YouTube. There are so many phonics videos and videos where, like, if parents can't reach their kids, celebrities can. There's just a wealth of information online that you can use to teach your kids. That's little kids, middle school kids. There's history reenactments. There's classic literature on YouTube being read to the students with the words going across. There's just and I will get to it. There's just so much to impart. There's just no lack of ways to teach your children with technology. We are in the tech age. We are in the information age. All the information you need is there to homeschool your kids, regardless of how insecure you feel about your own education or not. I pulled up the state of Michigan's homeschooling laws. I am not a lawyer. I do have a paralegal degree, but I am not licensed to give legal information. I just know how to pretty much interpret homeschool laws from homeschooling from so many years and for blogging for several websites where I had to write articles about what the laws were in each state. If I say something that doesn't seem right, comment back. We'll look it up. We'll get it right. So I'm going to see how quickly I can go through these 2 pages of homeschool laws in Michigan and explain to you what's required. Okay? So Michigan parents have the right to homeschool their children. The law requires that children from 6 to 18 be taught either in school or at home. You can send the child to a state-approved non-public school, or you can educate the child at home in an organized educational program. Okay? Homeschool education is the responsibility of the parent or legal guardian. The parent assigns homework, gives tests, and grades these tests. They issue report cards, they make transcripts, and they issue diplomas. If homeschooling continues to grade 12, the parent issues the diploma to the graduate. Annual reporting of homeschooling is not required unless you want to and have a need to use the special ed services in the public school. So basically, you don't need anyone's permission to homeschool. You technically don't have to advise anyone that you are going to homeschool unless you want to use school services, in which case you need to be registered so that they can make money off of you. I don't recommend this route. Okay? However, even if you're not going to register the child as a homeschooler, you might want to let the school you withdraw your child from know that you're going to homeschool so that you don't have to go through the steps of shooing off the truancy officer, because a truancy officer could show up. A truancy officer showed up for me once. A neighbor sicked him on me. We had a 2-minute conversation. Never bothered me again. Teacher requirement says that the parent or legal guardian who homeschools does not need to hold a Michigan teaching certificate, permit, or occupational authorization. If the parent is using the school for special ed services or other services within the school, in that case, they actually require that the parent have a minimum bachelor's degree to be approved, unless they can claim a sincerely held religious belief against teacher certification. Reporting is required if the parent or legal guardian is seeking eligible special education for their children. So if you want to homeschool and use the public school system for some things, then the requirements for you to be able to homeschool are quite high. They're asking for a bachelor's degree. But, and I'm mostly reading between the lines, you don't have to report anything if you're not trying to use public school systems. You don't need anyone's permission to homeschool. You need people's permission if you're going to homeschool and, use a combo of the homeschool and the public school systems. Course of study. Instruction must include math, reading, English, science, and social studies in all grades, so every year, and the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Michigan, and the history and present form of civil government in the United States. The state of Michigan and political subdivisions and municipalities, the state of Michigan in grades 10, 11th, and 12th. So every year you teach them, basics, reading, writing, arithmetic, social studies, and science. But when they get to 10th grade, you have to make sure that they've had the Constitution of the U.S., Constitution of Michigan, history and present form of civil government in the U.S., state of Michigan, and political subdivision. So basically, a government class that covers local and statewide. It needs to happen in those grades. Once again, homeschool students may enroll in non-essential elective classes at the resident public school, but understand that once you combine your homeschooling with the public schooling, then you have to have your homeschool approved, and the requirements get more difficult. Okay, textbooks. Homeschool families are responsible for purchasing textbooks and instructional materials of their choice. School districts are not required to provide curriculum, textbooks, or materials to homeschool families. If you have a computer and data, everything you need to teach your child is on the internet. I promise you. Student records. Parents are encouraged to maintain student records of progress throughout the year. These records will assist school personnel with placement should the student enroll in a public or non-public school. So the reason that you're keeping records is so that should at some point you all decide to put the kids back into a traditional school, you have records to show what your child is capable of so that they can correctly place your child back into the school. There are no required tests for the homeschool student. I'm pretty sure what they mean here is standardized tests. A parent is responsible for administering tests based on the curriculum they use. Although not required, homeschool students may participate in state testing at their local public school. These tests are managed by MDE and are administered at no cost to the homeschool student. For further information, contact your local public school. Once again, that whole MDE thing is homeschooling in conjunction with the public school. I tested my kids through an online program that I found where they send you the test, you administer the test, and send it back. And then when we got to high school, I just used the SAT and the ACT, which I paid for. Sometimes you just pay. Like, to jump through all those hoops to get things for free, it's just not worth it. Athletics. Each local board of education decides if homeschoolers can participate in their athletics. We used homeschool athletics. We're not in Michigan, but there's homeschool athletics. Homeschool students may obtain work permits through their local public school. It doesn't say anything about MDE. You should be able to go to the public school and have them fill out the work permit form. There are no public funds available for homeschooling. Okay, and then MDE's website provides additional information on homeschooling that includes legislation, registration forms, and instructions. There's a homeschool website at michigan.gov/homeschool. Okay, and then you can email non-public schools at michigan.gov for more information, and I shall include this link. So just so you know, that's what's required of homeschooling. Basically, you need to teach your children the core subjects. You can do it with or without the blessing of the public school system, but if you're using the public school system and you don't have a bachelor's degree, then there's a problem. You don't have to use the public school system. There should be enough resources to be able to homeschool without that. Please ask me questions, because I kind of don't know what information to give you without you asking. There's a lot of stuff in here, and it will all eventually come out, but do you really want to wait for it? Go ahead and ask me, whatever questions you might have. God bless you guys in Detroit. This is heartbreaking to me that education is not provided. I mean, I know I was unhappy with the brand of education that was available to my kids, but it would and staying in public school would have been difficult, but my children wouldn't have come out illiterate. They would have come out fed up. They would have come out probably angry. They would have come out withdrawn. They would have come out with anxiety, but they wouldn't have come out illiterate. And I'm just so disappointed that our government is doing this, allowing this to happen in this state and probably numerous others. I'm sure over the course of the next year, there's going to be umpteen other communities where this is happening. So until next time.